Hi, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. My clock does show 2:30, so I think in the interest of time, we will get going. Just a few housekeeping items before we begin. I did want to let you know that all of the lines have been muted at this time, just to minimize background noise and distraction. There will be an opportunity, of course, for questions and answers at the end of the presentation, at which point you can unmute your lines or write in through the chat box. The chat box is located at the bottom of your toolbar, and so you can type in any questions that you have either throughout the presentation, and we will address them towards the end of the presentation. So at this time, I'd just like to introduce and welcome our guest speakers, Kate and Emma from the Ontario CLRI team at the RIA. They're here to talk to us about experiential learning in long-term care. So I will pass it over to Kate and Emma.
All right, thanks very much, Josie Lee. This is Kate speaking. So before we get to things about how to empower residents and students through experiential learning in long-term care, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what the Ontario Centres for Learning, Research and Innovation in Long-Term Care are. And so the Ontario CLRI, as it's better known, is a provincially coordinated program funded by the Government of Ontario that is hosted at 3 sites. It's at Baycrest in Toronto, Briere in Ottawa, and at the RIA in Waterloo. We are guided by a provincial advisory committee with stakeholder representation. The Ontario CLRI program is designed to align with the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care's priorities and those of long-term care homes, with a focus on training to support quality of care and quality of life in long-term care. So what the Ontario CLRI does is that we provide various solutions to enable sustainable change in long-term care homes. We are mandated to build capacity through training, through research, and through knowledge mobilization to enhance the health and well-being of people who live and work in long-term care homes. We do this in part through ongoing partnerships, and as well as stakeholder engagement, various groups we work with doing presentations for the long-term care sector at events, and as well as during webinars such as this one, and as well as some of our other active outreach activities to long-term care homes.
Hi everyone, this is Emma speaking. So we just wanted to start off by introducing you to a few key terms that you'll hear us use throughout the webinar, just to ensure that everyone has the same understanding as we move forward. So when we say team member, we are referring to an individual who works in a long-term care home, and a teacher would refer to any school educator involved in experiential learning for students. So that would include guidance counselors and experiential learning coordinators as well. And a placement supervisor would be the long-term care team member who is responsible for supervising the student during their placement in the home and for working with the teacher to monitor and evaluate the student's progress. So 2 more key terms for you. An experiential learning opportunity is an opportunity for students to learn beyond the classroom. So for example, that might be through a co-op placement as they're working toward a secondary school diploma. A placement refers to a work experience within an organization, such as a long-term care home, for a secondary school student within a set time frame, which is part of an experiential learning opportunity.
Okay, we have a poll question to start things off. So what we would like to know is, does your long-term care home offer experiential learning placements for secondary school students? So that poll should pop up on your screen where you're able to choose one of the below responses, which is yes, not yet, but we are planning to, no, but we want to learn more about this, no, but we did in the past, and not at this time. We'll give everybody a minute to pick which option best fits your long-term care home's answer. Yeah, so we want to know, does your long-term care home offer experiential learning placements for secondary school students? And then once it seems like the votes are in, Josie Lee will let us know or be able to flip back the poll results to us all.
Are you able to see those results, Kate?
Yes, I am not able to read it though, but it seems like most people said yes.
Yeah, so we have 80% of the attendees today saying yes, they do offer placement opportunities. We have 5% saying not yet, 8 saying no but are interested in learning more, 3% saying no but have in the past, and 5% saying not at this time.
Okay, great. Thanks very much for sharing that. Yeah, this just gives Emma and I, and as well as all of you joining us, just a sense of where we are all at with this topic. And now I'll turn it back over to Emma.
Thanks. So long-term care homes and retirement homes are struggling to meet their staffing needs, which I'm sure some of you on this call are familiar with. A shortage of nurses, personal support workers, and other important positions are making it increasingly challenging for homes to both meet government requirements and to deliver high-quality care and services to residents. So in exploring this challenge, we discovered that there's a lack of awareness among young people and those who influence them, who may be educators or their parents, about the vast career options available in long-term care and retirement homes. As well, ageism and negative perceptions of long-term care homes and retirement homes are impacting the interest in working in these sectors and therefore a future workforce in this area. On the side of education, secondary schools are regularly seeking meaningful experiential learning placements for students, but may need support to identify the diverse roles and opportunities that are offered in long-term care and retirement homes.
Okay, so like Emma was saying, the Ontario Clri is supporting experiential learning opportunities, such as co-op for secondary school students in long-term care homes as a potential solution to these challenges. And we just want to show you a video now that gives some highlights of the experiences of everyone who has played a role of such placements. We managed to gather up perspectives from a few people, and we'll just flip things over to this other screen here, and we'll show you that now.
Opportunities to work with older adults. At Holy Trinity, we offer our co-op program, which is typically a 2-credit co-op. We've had some students in the past who've had great experiences in long-term care facilities. We have opportunities such as SHSM, also BK co-op students here.
You have to have leadership groups in the resident council, and once you've got that organized, then you can try and connect with a local high school.
I will get contacted by a co-op placement teacher. We interview them and see if they're a good fit for the community.
It's a great opportunity for both the employer and the student to meet and decide whether or not the student is a good fit for the program and for the home. The experiential learning is successful in the long-term care home when there's an open line of communication between the teacher, the supervisor, and the student.
As an industry education council, we really pride ourselves on bridging the gap between industry and education and providing those linkages. Before starting my placement, I never spent time in a retirement home setting, so I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how much there was in this field, how many different job opportunities there are. So that definitely changed throughout the semester as I grew closer with the residents and really started to enjoy coming here every day.
Take the time to really work with the students so they understand what the expectations are, and giving them some freedom to really try some new things will be a benefit to both the employer and the student in the long run.
I had a lot of freedom in the activities and programming department, so I would have the opportunity to bring in my brownies group or start a knitting club. I had a lot of chances to show my skills.
I think there's some great opportunity for retirement and long-term care homes to open their doors to students and help them see the opportunities within their sector.
A lot of the people that are working in the long-term care facilities, they're very caring, compassionate people. They really have everybody's best interest at heart, and they're able to help the students work through challenges they have, and they're very accommodating to the students' needs.
Through shadowing all the different occupations at the retirement home, I realized that there are so many different career opportunities working with older adults.
The Ontario Clri is trying to bridge partnerships between secondary schools and the long-term care and retirement sector so that the educators and students are aware of the many career options that are available in long-term care. And we know that secondary school educators are not aware of all of those options.
Experiential learning opportunities impact students in such a positive way because it's an experience outside of the classroom. So it's real life experience, and it's something they get to add to a resume, which I think is a huge plus.
It's difficult to find the experiential knowledge in the classroom. We provide a environment.
We have seen unused placement students continue to come back to the community because they make those friendships with the residents staff, and so they want to come back. I have had placement students stay on as volunteers, some even getting a job in the dining room or the housekeeping or wherever.
Kids got a great
I definitely think that more secondary school students should have the opportunity to do a co-op placement at a retirement home or residence, as I find there's so much you can learn from the residents themselves. I think my co-op opportunity definitely affected my future career goals, as I now plan on pursuing a career of working with older adults.
highlight for me was one of the students came to me and said her life had changed. She said, I never thought about working with seniors before, but now I want to work with seniors.
Okay, so as you saw in that video, there are many benefits of experiential learning in long-term care, and you might wonder, so how does this form of learning empower students? So one reason that some negative perceptions and lack of awareness about career options for working with older people may exist among younger generations is due to the limited opportunities for them to experience life in long-term care homes, and as well for them to connect with older adults. You know, so it might be something that, you know, whether they have grandparents or older family members who live close by, or even if they have the chance to see them often. Providing opportunities for experiential learning, such as co-op placements, can allow youth to explore the diverse career paths that are available and are in demand in long-term care homes. So this way, you know, while they're able to gain valuable work experience in the long-term care sector with its many meaningful and rewarding careers, they, you know, also have the option for jobs or roles that have, you know, flex hours, and as well as opportunities for career advancement. And, you know, through all of these various things, they may discover a passion for working with older people. As well, students have the opportunity to learn from and connect with older people. Studies have found that when youth are involved in intergenerational experiences, they benefit from improved communication and as well as other skills, and they have a sense of improved self-esteem and social responsibility. And just a final point in this area, both older and younger people benefit from changed perceptions of one another, and as well as the positive relationships they build. And so in response to this question on the screen here, how does experiential learning empower residents? we have these research-based facts to share with you. So this type of engagement between older people and youth, it helps to decrease feelings of loneliness, and as well as people living on their own, or maybe staying in the room in long-term care, not wanting to come out too often. And as well, since older people or people living in long-term care, through interacting with students, that they have the chance to improve and to use their communication skills. These type of opportunities for residents to connect with youth helps give them the chance to contribute to life in their long-term care home, be part of the broader community, and as well as have a positive effect on the lives of younger people. As well, studies have found that connecting with youth can improve confidence and feelings of self-worth among older people.
Emma speaking here. Experiential learning can empower team members in long-term care as well, as students who receive proper training can reduce the day-to-day workload and stress of team members. For example, students could assist with relational aspects of care and also engage socially with residents. Or if they're trained properly, they could also assist with other tasks, such as supporting residents to get to activities or during meal times. And this gives team members more time to spend with residents, as well as completing other tasks that require a higher level of skill or responsibility. Additionally, mentoring students also gives team members opportunities to develop leadership skills and also to make a difference in their field. So when the CLRI began to explore experiential learning placements for secondary school students, both in long-term care and retirement homes, we identified that there was a need for an opportunity for key stakeholders and leaders in long-term care, retirement, and secondary schools to connect and bridge that gap. And this was the inspiration for the Intergenerational Partnerships think tank, which was hosted last fall by the Research Institute for Aging with support from the Ontario CLRI, as well as the Jobson Family Foundation. So we had about 40 participants, which included Ministry of Education representatives, secondary school educators and students, long-term care leaders, team members, and residents, as well as researchers, who were all invited to think through how we can better engage secondary school students to consider future careers in long-term care through experiential learning. And this think tank informed the development of a free and an easy-to-use toolkit to support long-term care and retirement homes and secondary schools in creating successful partnerships and offering opportunities for secondary school students to explore long-term care and explore working with older adults. The Experiential Learning in Long-Term Care Toolkit was developed, as I mentioned, as a result of the think tank, and it includes a guidebook that is divided into two sections. So one is to support long-term care homes, and the other is to support secondary schools. Just a note that the long-term care section of the guidebook would also be applicable to retirement homes as well. So the guidebook offers information, steps, reflective questions, templates, and checklists to guide homes and schools throughout the planning process of building a partnership to offer experiential learning placements for secondary school students in their home. We have also created a website that houses a toolkit of resources to support you through each step of the guidebook. So this will be a living website, meaning we're going to continue to add to it as more resources are developed and also as we receive feedback. So the website can be accessed using the link shown on your screen, and we'll continue to share more about the resources that can be found there throughout the webinar. A PDF copy of the guidebook can be downloaded for free using this link as well. And we're happy to send a hard copy to you for free if you're located in Ontario. So simply let us know if you'd like one by completing the survey at the end of the webinar. So now I will hand it to Kate, and we will briefly walk you through the steps of the guidebook, specifically the ones that pertain to long-term care homes.
All right, thanks, Emma. And so as you can see on your screen, this is the table of contents for the long-term care section of the guidebook. It starts by explaining what experiential learning programs in Ontario secondary schools are, including the specialist high skills major and co-op ed and co-op training. Then it goes over the 10 steps involved with forming and sustaining a partnership with a secondary school, which we're going to go more in depth with in just a couple of minutes. And then this section of the guidebook ends with a readiness assessment checklist. So step 1 is about defining your purpose so that you and your team are clear about why you want to engage secondary school students in your long-term care home. You know, and this could be because of some of the benefits for residents and team members that Emma and I just raised. It could be part of your home's culture change journey to involve youth from the surrounding community, or it could be for other reasons. So to define your purpose as per the template shown on your screen, it asks you the following questions. So the first one is to consider, why is your long-term care home wanting to do an experiential learning placement for secondary school students? How will your long-term care home, including those who live, work, and visit there, benefit from the presence and the involvement of secondary school students? And the last question there is, how will this placement contribute to your long-term care home's mission, vision, and values? So really good questions to think about as you get started. So step 2 then gets into how to develop and set goals based on the purposes that you came up with in step 1. And so as you were able to see on this slide, the guidebook has an overview planning template in the form of a chart so that you can list your goals, which is how your purpose will be accomplished. And as well, it encourages you to create indicators or potential outcomes for your goals, so you will know whether your goals have been achieved or if there's anything that should be adjusted along your placement journey. There are also tips for setting goals, such as how to group goals to achieve larger outcomes, rather than having many small goals that are focused on tasks. For more information about this SMART goal planning, and the SMART in this case stands for specific, something that you're able to measure, something that you're able to achieve, and that is relevant and time bound. That is a resource in the form of another web page on our toolkit website.
Emma speaking again here. Step 3 is to have a role description prepared specifically for secondary school students in your long-term care home. And this is an important step because a clear role description will help teachers and placement supervisors to identify students who will be the right fit for the position. So this role description can also be shared with students to ensure that they're prepared, which will in turn support their confidence and their independence during their placement, especially as they're getting started. And finally, clear expectations will help team members in your home, even if they're not the student's placement supervisor, to guide and support the success of the student. So the guidebook includes recommendations to help you write a comprehensive role description, including important considerations that you might want to include. Additionally, you can visit the website to find sample role descriptions for secondary school students in long-term care homes that mirror some of the responsibilities of positions that may already exist in your home, such as a food service professional or a personal support worker. We hope to add more role descriptions to our Living website. So if you would like to share ideas or experiences you've had with students previously, please feel free to reach out to us because we're still working on those. So here is an example of one of those role descriptions found on the website. This one was actually designed based on feedback from OARC board members. And so this student's primary role would be to support the social engagement of residents. And residents would also help students to learn and develop skills through this relationship building focused role. So we now have a few minutes for you to share with us. Would anyone like to share how you think your long-term care home could empower or has empowered residents through student placement?
Just a reminder, everyone, that your lines are muted. So if you would like to participate, you can either unmute your individual line or write in through the chat box.
Yeah, so the question, just for those of you who maybe aren't able to see the slides or joining us by audio only, is that we are just putting it out there, some ways, you know, that you're thinking or maybe that you've done in the past or are doing now, ways that your long-term care home could empower residents through student placements. And I'm not sure if it's *6 for people to take themselves off mute, Josie Lee.
So for those who have joined over the computer, there should be a little microphone button on your toolbar that you can press to unmute yourself. And Nicole, if you'd like me to do that for you, I certainly can.
Yeah, and it looks like some of the responses coming up. Someone says that they're holding a youth summit for students to present and learn from all the homes in their area, which is awesome. Yeah, that sounds like a really great idea, just a way to bring a large number of people together so that way it benefits residents and students.
Nicole, you're now unmuted.
Perfect. Yeah, we're super spoiled because we have sort of middle, what probably be considered middle school, high school, kitty corner to my long-term care site. So they are coming in more, and we're looking with them to start coordinating together some different events throughout the year. So like Christmas events and stuff. So we'll have residents attending the school's Christmas events, as well as them helping us do a community Christmas event for our residents and families and incorporating them in helping us run that.
Fantastic.
Sounds like a great idea to have a part of your home that's, you know, just for students as you were saying there. So that way, you know, it's a space that students can, you know, either meet up or just as a way just to stay in touch with things that are going on there. And as well, like you're saying, if they have a medical or some other role focus, then it's a really great way for students to learn more about it.
Something we have heard from students that we've spoken to and had experiences with is that actually getting to go to a long-term care home and to experience what it's really like is very impactful. And so, yeah, any opportunity for that to happen is great.
And it looks like in the chat box, you know, some people are saying that they could use some help since they're a small home and either in a small area. And as well, I think somebody else or the same person said that they're in a rural area so that they could use some tips to get something like this started up. So definitely please feel free to reach out to Em and I afterwards, and we would be able to help you with that. I know I heard from one of the OARC board members that they had gotten feedback that there are people in rural areas who have been able to get these type of placements set up. So based on the needs of the students as well as the background of the people living in the long-term care home. So that's something that, yeah, we're not only happy to learn more ourselves with, but to help you out as well.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like in Kenora, which I know is up in northern Ontario, getting close to the Manitoba border, is someone has said that they work with the recreation therapy program there. So they do things like prepping the garden and having students with painting, people reading to one another in the home itself, doing crafts and various things like that, having a prom. So yeah, those are definitely some ways. What else we got here for questions or responses?
There was one neat idea there that somebody shared. They have students helping write biographies for the residents of their home. Lots of people writing in, mentioning that they have partnerships with the local daycare centers or early childhood centers in their areas.
Yeah, those are definitely great ideas to, get people started off at a young age, as well as for, parents and such to see that long-term care homes are, really, really great places.
There is a question there, Kate, and I don't know if you've come across any examples of this, but a question around, has anybody done Montessori for dementia with a school?
That is a good question. Do you have, is there something coming to mind, Emma?
No, not that I can think of. I think that that's definitely something that would be a great addition if your home is working with Montessori methods. I think that's something that would be a really great thing to include in a student orientation. Something that we did hear through the think tank last fall is that one challenge is that a lot of secondary school students may not have a lot of experience with dementia, even knowing what it means to live with dementia. And so then when they begin in placement or an experiential learning opportunity in a long-term care home, they have some challenges with learning communication strategies and how to connect with residents who are living with dementia. And so I think including Montessori in that orientation would definitely give them a great start right off the bat in terms of strategies to use to build those connections, and also to make them feel more comfortable that they have a bit of a toolkit to draw from. Yeah, I don't have experience with it, but I think it sounds like a great idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something that we could reach out to Gail Elliott. Yeah, because I've worked with Gail in the past, so that's something that she would probably have heard of from all of her travels, because she's been teaching the Montessori methods for getting close to 10 years now, maybe something more like 15, but something that we'll definitely find out about and maybe see if she or the homes that she's worked with have a story that we're able to share with you all.
Lots of good ideas coming in. A few of them include having elementary schools partnering to write birthday cards for residents, do Easter egg hunts, partnering with local service groups such as Cubs and Scouts.
Fantastic. Yeah, I see those coming up.
Yeah, that's really super. Lots of really great work being done out there by you all. Yep, we're just reading over some of them. Yep, some of you are saying that you have secondary school students coming in, and maybe while they're involved during the summertime when they tend to have more free time available to them, or maybe as part of their, I think it's a set 40 hours, which students must do as part of getting their secondary school diploma is another way, just as a way to get students in and to be working with residents. And as well, someone else was saying about students coming in and doing presentations, and then with the residents and team members, sharing a bit about their role, maybe a bit about their background and various career options, which is another really good idea. And that's one we've heard from a couple homes on, which is great.
Kate and Emma, there was one question a little bit earlier on in the feed around if there was any funding opportunities that would allow a home to hire somebody to facilitate these types of placements, or at least to add to an existing perhaps part-time position that would kind of fill it up to be that full-time. Just making a comment that they believe the placements would increase value in the home. So just wondering if there's any funding opportunities.
Definitely, it's a good question. None that I'm aware of at this time, but that's something we can definitely take back to our Ontario Clri team to see if there's something we're able to do with our funding regarding that this year, or if it's something that the Ministry of Health would be open to, or whether there's other funding opportunities, such as through the New Horizons grants or Trillium, various things like that. So yeah, there's definitely options, none that I can come to mind. Another group that might be good to work with, they might be able, it would probably be co-op student placements themselves if you were to partner with an Ontario business education group, and we do have a link to them on the Ontario Secondary School Placements in Long-Term Care website. They're available in pretty much every part of Ontario. I think there's about 60 or 70 of them in total. There was a couple of them that we featured in the video, and those folks are from the Halton area. And so their whole role is basically to help link students with, exploring various career paths. And they've, through some of the work that we've been doing with them over the last couple of months, is they're starting to see that there's lots of really good opportunities in your long-term care homes. But something we will take a closer look at, and something we will definitely follow up on.
For sure. Thank you for raising that, though.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so next up, we're going to get into some safety and training considerations.
Yeah, so we'll move on to step 4. So this section includes information to ensure both the students as well as those who live, work, and visit in your long-term care home are protected and they feel comfortable. So in the guidebook, you'll find information about workplace safety requirements, as well as coverage, as well as supporting the emotional safety of students and recommended training for students. So you'll see on your screen that the Ontario Clri has developed and identified different training resources on these topics listed here, which are a person-centered approach to care, supporting residents living with dementia, supporting residents with mobility challenges, the Ontario Long-Term Care Homes Act and Residents' Bill of Rights, abuse and neglect, as well as mealtime assistance. So for example, I mentioned that something we heard was that students may have a lack of awareness about what it means to live with dementia. And so we created a video that specifically speaks to students to educate them, as well as give them strategies that can help them to communicate with residents who are living with dementia and to help them understand personal expressions. We plan to add more training resources to the Living website in the future, but those are some topics that we feel are big ones for students to get some education on.
And so step 6 is about reflecting on your successes and challenges. Oops, sorry, I just went over a checklist there. Too fast.
No worries. So step 5 is planning a student orientation. And so This is information to support you in planning and executing a thorough student orientation, which would ensure the student is equipped with everything they need to fulfill their role and reach their potential. And so this is an important step. And so we'd encourage you to remember that the more prepared you are, the more prepared and impactful the student can be. And so on your screen, you'll see a checklist, which is included in the guidebook to help to ensure that you've considered both mandatory health and safety training, which we talked about in step 4, as well as other instructions in education that would set the student up for success. And so you'll see this checklist is very detailed. But keep in mind that secondary school students may not have had the opportunity to experience a long-term care home before. So it includes considerations for a comprehensive tour of your home, introducing the student to team members and residents, reviewing their role expectations, training like we talked about in step 4, safety information, emergency protocols, and incident reporting. And also what should be reviewed in a code of conduct, as well as other considerations. We strongly encourage you also to consider how residents could be involved in a student orientation process, as their perspective would be both valuable and also essential to the student's success from the beginning.
Okay, so step 6 is reflecting on your successes and challenges throughout the student's placement, and we have a lot of tips and some resources on our Clri secondary schools and long-term care home web site that is shown on your screen there. And so this is something that can be done, whether it's since a lot of you are already offering these types of placements. So if you wanted to do it before you offered the next round of placements for students, so just to get a sense of things that went well during the, with being with the previous students, or it's something that you were able to do, every so often with some of the new student placements. And as well, it's definitely something good to do at the end of student placements as well, just to check in with your team, the people living in your home, and the students as well, just to have a sense of, things that worked well, things that could be enhanced or improved upon next time. And so, as you can see on the screen, we have lots of tips and ways to help you out with doing that. So that way you're not doing all of this work from scratch. Then step 7 is about how to connect with a school. So how to start up and sustain a good partnership with the school. So both sides, both the long-term care home and the school side, that they both have to be on the same page. They both have to have open forms of communication, have an understanding of just what it's like from each other's perspective. So that's why with this guidebook we have a section for long-term care homes as well as a section for schools, so that both can go to the section that's most relevant to them, plus reading over what it's like from the other perspective, just to have a sense of how things are going in their world of work or study or life, and vice versa. So it's important when planning a placement in your home to find schools that are within a fairly close distance of your long-term care home that offer these type of experiential learning opportunities. And having that close proximity also makes it easy for students to get to and from your long-term care home. And as well, we know some people, depending on the size of your city or in rural areas, that there could be challenges with public transportation, or maybe students can't get rides very easy while their parents or guardians are at work. And so that could be something that maybe if it's a group of students, like either if there's like a bus rental, or even if your home has some type of bus. We've heard of some students in the Kitchener-Waterloo area doing that. So just to make it easy to pick up the group of students after school is done and bring them over to your home, or if most often this type of placement takes place while students would be in school, so that they're able to go in and pick up the students during that time. And an easy way to find secondary schools in your area is to use a website like Google Maps. Just type in the word secondary schools, and it'll show all the ones in your area and with their websites. That way, you know which teachers or schools are the best to get in touch with. And we have a checklist shown on the screen here that gives you all the tips and steps for doing that. It's also important for you and your long-term care home to identify the right student. So once you've found a school, that's a great match. So then you want to check in with the teacher who's going to be your lead or your point person there to identify students that suit the roles your long-term care home has to offer. So once the teacher, ends up finding students who seem to be a good match, then they'll give you and your long-term care home the chance to interview the student or students before your home makes a final decision. So these types of interviews could be the same structure that your home uses to hire other roles, while also being guided by the role description for the student, and as well as any tips provided by the teacher. And so, and during this interview process, it's ideal to have the team member who's going to be the student's placement supervisor as part of this interview, and as well as people who are living in your long-term care home that the students are going to be interacting with. And again, up on the slide here, we have another handy checklist for everyone to use.
So many of the key stakeholders that we spoke to, both in education and in long-term care, identified communication as either a key barrier or a key facilitator for the success of an experiential learning opportunity and for building a sustainable partnership. So step 9, communication, highlights the importance of open and frequent communication within your team and with the student and their teacher. So in this section, you'll find information about collaboration between the student, teacher, and placement supervisor to monitor the student's progress, as well as considerations related to the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. It also includes recommendations to share the news of a student joining your team, as well as what their role will be and how their role will impact those who live, work, and visit your home. So you'll see on the screen there's a few different ways that we suggested you could do this, either through introducing the student in a newsletter, the resident or family council meeting, or directing anyone who's interested to information about the impacts of experiential learning on the Ontario CLRI website. And finally, if you are the champion of this initiative in your home, make sure that if your role changes, there's someone else who is prepared to maintain the partnership you've built, just to ensure the hard work you've put in now will be sustained. That's something that we heard at the think tank a fair bit. And finally, step 10 is a student placement timeline. So to keep track of meetings and achievements, so the guidebook includes a template which you can use to do this and to support you to stay on track, to measure progress, and to reach your goals. So before moving forward with bringing a secondary school student on board your team, we'd encourage you to use this readiness assessment checklist, which is offered in the guidebook, to ensure you've thoroughly considered all 10 of the steps and you're set up for success. So for example, ensure you are in agreement with the statement, I have set goals that can be achieved through experiential learning placements, or I have planned a student orientation that's specific to the student's role. And if you agree with all the statements, you are ready to offer experiential learning for secondary school students.
And here's the overview of the table of contents part of the guidebook for secondary schools to follow. So it's basically just a bit of a flip from the side of it for long-term care homes to follow. So they get an overview of what long-term care homes are, and as well as what the difference between long-term care and retirement homes are. There's an overview of the variety of roles that are in long-term care homes, as well as some brief role descriptions and some of the sample roles that students might be able to participate in. I just noticed in the chat box some of you were saying that you don't offer either mealtime assistance or feeding assistance for students, just based on things that have happened perhaps in the past, or depending on what the rules are for your long-term care home. So again, these rules are just some general summaries based on the feedback from the groups that we've been working with to develop this set of tools. So feel free to take or leave any of them so that it best meets the needs of your long-term care home. And of course, we have different checklists and tips for schools to consider. So just to make sure that that they know what Ontario long-term care homes are and the various opportunities for students there and such. And so as a companion to the guidebook, as we've been saying, we have a living website that is going to be updated on an ongoing basis that has all of the tools that we've been telling you about. So be sure to check that out and to let us know if you have any questions or if there's anything else you and your home would like to see on that website. And some of the resources and links on our toolkit website are shown here. And so, it's some of the videos that Emma was saying, such as how to support people living with dementia. It gets into a little bit about the tank that the RIA and CLRI hosted last fall, and PDF of the guidebook itself. It has a video for how to support the mobility needs of people living in long-term care, because this might not have been something students have been trained in. So these are just some ways, and we even say during the guidebook, that these videos and the training that we have on the CLRI secondary schools and long-term care website, these are just options, and that it's always best to follow whatever the standard protocols are for the long-term care homes students are in, and follow the rules of whichever team members that they're going to be working with. And so we have a few more minutes left, and we're wondering if you all have any more questions or suggestions for us.
So it does look like there's a couple of questions sitting in the chat box at the moment. One around vulnerable screening on anybody under 18. Is that?
Yeah, so I can speak to that. I did a little bit of research on that. And yes, you're not able to get a vulnerable sector check if you are under the age of 18 under the Youth Criminal Justice Act. And so unless it's a government position, students will not be able to obtain that screening.
And that doesn't hinder their ability to be involved in a volunteer or experiential learning capacity, correct?
Right.
Correct, yes. The retirement or long-term care homes rules should be updated to follow that new legislation, I guess.
Mm-hmm. There was another question in there around if there's been some outreach done to various school boards around the province to encourage their engagement in these opportunities as well.
Yes, that's a very good question, and we are in the first steps of doing that, because we have been in touch with various government reps, giving us some tips on what are the best ways, that we do have very good communication channels of ways of getting this knowledge out to long-term care homes. But then on the flip side of things, that we do need to be in touch with the school boards, as well as all of the schools that offer the various placements. And so we're just working on the next part of our strategy for that. And so we'll be starting to be putting that in action over the next few months, so that it isn't just long-term care homes that are reaching out to schools, but something we all want to see is schools getting in touch with homes in their area as well. And we have developed some posters and flyers and various resources to support schools and teachers, as well as students and parents too.
Yes, if there's any educators who are out there online as well, feel free to jump in. If you have any suggestions for us on ways we can better connect with the education side of things.
There's also a question around the around TB tests, if that's a requirement.
Yeah, the TB tests and those sorts of things, we do mention that in part of the guidebook that, you know, that there might be some testing that is required as part of the student's placement, and those types of protocols or requirements can vary from home to home. And, you know, I know through some placements that I've done in the past is that something that would get, you know, set up, and it seems like somebody else is commenting on that there, that they offer the TB tests, you know, either on site as part of the placement setup process for students, as well. They're able to go to their doctor, which I know can be challenging to get in to see. And those types of tests are available as well through public health clinics. And it seems like somebody has a really great idea for students to come in over the summer, or maybe during some of their major breaks, just to start getting their TB test done, since it is a two-step process. But I think there needs to be like a week or a 10-day span from one test to the other.
There was a question earlier in the chat feed around any thoughts on how to better get students involved in nursing. So at this particular home, they typically have students involved in restorative or recreational roles, but are there any thoughts or ideas for getting them involved in nursing?
Yeah, one of the ways both schools and homes can engage students in that opportunity is through the SHISM, the Specialist High Skills Major placement. There is a health and wellness stream for that, and from what we've heard from students in schools is that a lot of students who want to do medical type placements, that they really want to be a nurse or doctor. So there's definitely a lot of students out there, and it's just a matter of, again, getting in touch with schools in your area. I believe we have a link on our secondary school site that links all of the SHISM schools or schools which offer placements.
Mm-hmm. There is a link there that you can click on that will show you all of the schools that offer a health and wellness SHISM, and that's probably the one that's closest aligned with offering placements close to a nursing role. Mm-hmm. Also on the website, I would recommend taking a look at the sample role description that we've come up with for shadowing a personal support worker. Some of those responsibilities may be related to what the student might be looking for. It would give them a bit of exposure at least. I know there are some rules around what students are and are not able to do in the long-term care or retirement home, just as there would be in a hospital. And so as much as we'd like to give them as much experience as possible, it's, balancing what's also realistic.
Just while people are writing in their final thoughts, I do want to extend OARC's thanks to both Kate and Emma and the CLRI team. This is an amazing resource that you guys have put together. And I think, you know, it really does have the capacity to create some amazing opportunities for both long-term care homes and secondary schools alike. So thank you so much for all your hard work in spearheading this resource for the sector. And thank you to everybody who took the time out of their day to join this webinar and to participate.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us today and sharing your ideas and feedback. Just a reminder that fill out the survey after the webinar to let us know if you'd like us to send you a hard copy of the guidebook for free if you're located in Ontario. Also, if anyone is interested in piloting an experiential learning opportunity using this guidebook, we'd love to connect with you, or if you're already doing something, we've seen lots of activity going on in your homes and we'd love to hear more about it. So feel free to connect with us anytime. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye.